We're going to get started on time. So first of all, a very big, warm welcome to all of you. It is our pleasure to see you all and to spend the next couple of days with you. Today morning, we are going to start with some remarks from our Assistant Secretary for Planning, Evaluation, and Policy Development, Mr. Roberto Rodriguez. We are just so thrilled to have Roberto with us. Roberto has had a very distinguished career in public service, which includes senior government roles in the White House as a Deputy Assistant for Education to President Barack Obama, and in the US Senate as Chief Counsel to the late Senator Edward Kennedy. Most recently, Mr. Rodriguez has served as a President and CEO of Teach Plus, where he built an equity-driven teacher leadership movement that engaged thousands of teachers to shape public policy and instructional practice to deliver great opportunities for students. Mr. Rodriguez currently serves as Assistant Secretary for Planning, Evaluation, and Policy Development. And believe me, folks, it's a very important and influential position. He works under Secretary Cardona. Mr. Rodriguez, on a personal note, is a Michigan native, and he has a Master's of Education from the Harvard Graduate School of Education. So please join me in giving a very warm welcome to Mr. Roberto Rodriguez.
Good morning. It is wonderful to see you all, and it's my pleasure to welcome you here, and such a pleasure to be here with you and share a few remarks. I want to thank Supreet for that warm welcome, and we so deeply appreciate her leadership and all of the outstanding work that OELA leads at the Department of Education, helping to put the needs and the assets of our multilingual learners front and center in all that we do at the department. So I just want to give Supreet and the entire OELA staff a round of applause. Thank you. And how wonderful that they brought us together today, right? It's nice to be here with one another in conversation, in fellowship, in this work in person after having to take some hiatus here through the pandemic. Many of you traveled from far and wide today to be here. I want to thank you for making the commitment to this work, making the commitment to our learners and to our educators. Thank you for all you contribute and continue to lead on behalf of this mission at our Department of Education to reach and support all of our multilingual learners and provide them with the best education possible. We can't do this without your partnership. It truly is a collective effort. And so I thank you for your work and for your advocacy for putting the needs and helping to be a voice for elevating those needs of our multilingual learners and for recognizing their backgrounds as assets. We have so much to celebrate in our multilingual learners across the country. They bring their culture, they bring their language, they bring their background, they bring their identity to our classrooms, to our schools, to our communities, and that diversity is a value add. That diversity brings new perspectives to learning and to classrooms. It promotes a greater and more open dialogue. It promotes collaboration and cultural competence and greater communication. It builds bridges in our schools. So in today's economy and in today's society, we know that our multilingual learners contribute not just from the classroom, they grow to contribute to our prosperity as a country. They give us more ways to compete and to cooperate at home and abroad. And our schools, our communities continue to benefit from those assets, particularly as the number of our multilingual learners rise, right? Particularly as we surpass 5 million English learners across our country, as they become 1 in 10 students in our American education system. So I want to just be sure to communicate that and make sure if you don't walk away with anything else today from these remarks, it is that our administration and our department is deeply committed to our multilingual learners and to their success, and that we recognize them as assets in learning. We recognize them as assets in the communities in which they live and learn and build and contribute. And we recognize you as assets in that charge, as leaders in that charge, to help support them and to help them thrive in their learning and in their development. And that's for our English learners, that's for our emergent bilingual learners, and for our students who are learning a second language and opening pathways to multilingualism. Ensuring that we meet our learners where they are, we lift them up for all they contribute. It is a deeply personal commitment that we live and we walk in our department. It's one that begins with Secretary Cardona himself, and I know he draws from his journey and his experience as a bilingual educator and as a bilingual administrator and leader. And he often reminds us and all of our students that bilingualism and biculturalism is their superpower. He often says that, and we know how important that is. It is a deeply personal and commitment and lived commitment for me, for the community and from the community in which I grew up in West Michigan, and from the work that my wife, who's a bilingual educator and a former subpart 3 of the Bilingual Education Act administrator, for those of you that can go back that far, in her hometown in Phoenix, Arizona. She reminds me of the importance of that every day. We know how important it is for our students to see themselves in their languages and in their learning as reflected in their classrooms. So that's our charge, right? Is to do more to help support and build that multilingualism that we know is so critical for our individuals, so critical for our collective community and for our society. We know that it benefits individual learners. We know the positive effect of speaking more than one language has on learning from preschool all the way through college. We know that studies show that our children who grow up bilingual and multicultural and multilingual experience socio-emotional benefits, academic benefits, gives them entrance to be able to speak and contribute and participate in multiple conversations. We know multilingualism benefits our economy, and those strong language ties and strong cultural ties can increase job prospects and higher earnings over the course of a career and over the course of a lifetime. And we know that multilingualism ultimately benefits the world. It is our ability to reach out in a diverse society and connect with individuals and communities of different backgrounds, and to prepare our community and our country with the cultural knowledge and the critical language skills that we need to be able to succeed in the jobs of today and the jobs of tomorrow, to be able to succeed in connecting with other countries and others around the world. So we all are in the process today of coming out of 24 months, a long pandemic, which has challenged opportunities, right? Challenged professional learning in our schools for our educators, challenged opportunities around continuous learning and advancement for all of our students, and certainly challenged the opportunities that our multilingual learners and our English learners have to shine and to show off those bilingual superpowers that they were able to do when they were back before March of 2020. So it also revealed a lot of inequities in our system, hurdles that we knew existed prior to the pandemic. We knew that we had many of our English learners in schools that were under-resourced, where we didn't have the access that they might need to enrichment opportunities, to after-school learning opportunities. access to additional supports in their schools that would help them thrive, access to qualified and well-prepared and fully certified teachers. And so we know that and we've seen this from studies, that our multilingual learners lost substantial time in their learning during this pandemic in nearly every grade in English language arts, as well as in math. Our students in their upper grades were also similarly affected by school closures. We've been proud to put the recovery of this pandemic front and center. It has been priority 1, 2, and 3 for this administration since day one. And we've gone from 46% of our schools all the way back to nearly 100% of our schools open for continuity in terms of learning and advancement for students. That is critical. We know that's critical for our multilingual learners. And we know now that our work is to continue to support that recovery, continue to support that learning advancement and the social and emotional needs of our students, the mental health needs of our students. We had over 140,000 students around the country lose a parent or a caregiver over the course of this pandemic. And those mental health needs for our learners and for their families are acute, right? So how can we do more in the moment that we're in, also to bake in those social and emotional supports, again, as the secretary says, so that those are part of the regular DNA of our schools in a more permanent way than they were prior to the pandemic. And the secretary has also put forth an ambitious vision for the education of all of our multilingual learners across the country. And that is anchored in the vision of equity and opportunity and success for all students. It's going to take a shared and sustained sense of urgency and priority from all of our educators at every level in our system, from our state leaders all the way down to our system leaders, to our district administrators, to those principals and teachers in our schools, to our higher education leaders, working in partnership with our schools and communities to prepare and support our educators. And we want to make sure that that mission has and puts multilingual learners and our English learners on path for success and for reaching their full potential. That vision means that we also need to support our students and their families in this effort through the pandemic recovery and beyond, and make investments beyond this pandemic, right, to not return to what we had back in March of 2020 pre-pandemic, but rather to think about how do we re-envision and redesign our education system to bridge those opportunity gaps that we know were there prior to the pandemic, that the pandemic has exacerbated. How do we think about re-envisioning and retooling and approaching with innovation and with a spirit of re-envisioning and redesign that better meets the needs of the whole child, that better meets the needs of the whole educator, and that better centers and meets the needs of the whole family. So affecting that change, putting the whole child, the whole educator, and the whole family at the center of our educational endeavor is an all hands on deck response, right? And it calls us at the department to make sure that we are engaging families as a core partner in the work. We haven't always done a good job of that. I think around the country, we've in many places haven't engaged in a more meaningful way our families and our multilingual families, those families of our learners, recognize the assets they bring to the learning and to the engagement of their students, recognize them as full partners in that work, and make sure that their assets are brought to bear alongside that of their children in their learning and development and success of their kids. Right. So we're also deeply committed to prioritizing equity in student access and to doing more to advance adequate educational resources, high quality learning environments, safe, welcoming, and affirming schools for all of our students. And part of that centers on the work around including and growing a diverse educator workforce and ensuring that we are supporting their growth in the professional learning. We know that our educators our talented bilingual educators and talented educators of our multilingual students are their greatest asset. They are their friends, they are their instructors, they are their mentors, they are their leaders. They help ground and support our learners every day. So we have work to do, and we are getting about that at the department to make sure that we're supporting a highly trained, highly effective, well-prepared, whole educator workforce that supports our multilingual learners, that understands their needs, and make sure that we're building the capacity of that workforce to grow, to continue to lean, to continue to lead, and to continue to learn across their course of their career in meeting the needs of our multilingual learners. So to get there, we're beginning to encourage and support professional development for all of our educators, for all of our school leaders, to make sure that our students are successful. We want to get serious about some of the gaps that we see in the system. You all know this. You've seen the shortages around the country in terms of the number of bilingual educators that are still needed in our classrooms. Almost every state is reporting some shortage of bilingual educators. We have to do more work there. We have to provide that support from there all the way through leadership opportunities for those educators moving forward. And I want to just thank all of you, because you are leading the way in that charge. You know, the National Professional Development applicants for this past cycle, and those of you who have led this work for years, you understand and you are prioritizing equity and promoting projects and activities that are supporting the success and growing the success of our workforce, of our bilingual educators, of those educators that are meeting the needs of our multilingual students. We are very excited about embarking on yet another focus this year to promote school readiness in early learning. Right, we know those transitions from early childhood and early learning programs into kindergarten and early grades are particularly challenging for all of our schools. They're particularly challenging for our multilingual learners. We're excited to embark and to advance that charge and to see some more projects that will help to support and deepen our field's understanding and deepen the knowledge base of how our schools can effectively respond and support our youngest multilingual learners as they make that transition and move forward. We are getting to work and proud to be putting to work the COVID-19 dollars that Congress has delivered as part of the American Rescue Plan, the $122 billion for our K-12 education system, which is now allocated across all 50 states and beginning to make its way down to school districts around the country. We've never had that level of investment in our education system. And again, this is a time for us to think about how we put that funding to work. The Secretary is very eager to make sure that those dollars are put to work each and every day to meet the immediate needs of our learners, and to think about, again, how we transform, how we re-envision the system to build back in a different way, in a better way for all of our students and for our multilingual learners as well, right? So we're very actively pursuing that, supporting guidance, calling on new partnerships. Just this past Monday, the department issued a call to action for our institutions of higher education and our educator prep programs to work actively with our school districts and to make use of the dollars, the Rescue Act dollars on the higher ed side, $40 billion, as well as the dollars on the K-12 side, to come together and create new partnerships that will surge the supply of our teacher candidates. We have a lot of work to do here, not just for building and supporting those pathways for our bilingual educators, but for the country, for the education profession at large, for our most noble profession. Prior to the pandemic, we saw a 900,000 decrease in the number of teacher candidates over an 11-year period, right? So we know part of this ensuring the success and securing the success of our multilingual learners is making sure that we're getting serious about investing in that workforce, getting serious about making those investments that we need at every point in that pipeline, from pre-service to success in those early years for our teachers, to that mentoring and that induction that they need, to supporting their professional learning, that in-service professional development and advancement, and to get serious about the leadership opportunities that our teachers can bring and the opportunity to distribute that leadership in our buildings and in our schools in ways where our talented educators, our accomplished educators, are able to lead their peers, to contribute to that curriculum design, to contribute to that extended learning opportunity, to contribute to the decisions and design in their schools alongside their principals and with learning communities, with their peers in ways that will transform the system. We so deeply, unfortunately, still underutilize the talent that our educators bring every day, right? We place that talent within four walls of the classroom, and we normalize a system that doesn't allow that voice to carry and connect and collaborate with other teachers, that voice to carry and connect and advocate for their students beyond those four walls, that voice to carry and contribute to the knowledge base and to the strategies that need to be brought to bear for our learners to be able to succeed and thrive, right? Our bilingual educators are a tremendous asset in our country. Let's unleash that voice. Let's support that voice. Let's grow that voice. And let's also get serious about the work around what's needed around certification and the specialized preparation that our teachers need to be able to respond and better support the needs of our multilingual learners. We know that too few, only a quarter of our teacher prep programs include language and literacy coursework that adequately addresses the instructional needs and supports for our multilingual learners. We know that almost half of our states don't require our teachers to have any bilingual certification or specialized prep in second language acquisition. We have a whole body of science that we can follow here. Crash and Crawford, other giants in second language acquisition that have helped us better understand and develop the assets around what dual language learning and what dual language development looks like. Let's follow that. Let's do more to lead that and to contribute to reinvigorating that base. And we will commit to doing that while we also advance a budget that President Biden has put forth for our department just this last Monday that reflects these priorities, that reflects first and foremost the priority and the assets that our multilanguage learners bring, that creates and calls for one of the highest and greatest increases in our Title III program, over $1 billion that we are seeking through Congress, a 35% increase from the previous year. That reflects new dollars for our teacher quality partnership program to build new pathways into the teaching profession, particularly for our diverse teachers, and to prioritize those pathways for our bilingual teachers, for our special education teachers, to do more to support residencies and grow your own programs that we know yield a stronger result relative to our teacher candidates once they get in the classroom and have the opportunity to continue their learning to succeed in those early years, to support the Hawkins Centers of Excellence program and the number of teacher candidates, particularly at some of our minority serving institutions, our HBCUs and our MSIs. They prepare over half of our teachers of color in the country. We're also looking to break down silos in education in our communities so that our schools can finally work more actively with their community, with higher education, with their early childhood programs, all around centering the needs of the whole child and around supporting and discovering and building the knowledge base of new and more innovative strategies for our students to be successful. And that means we can do more to meet the individualized needs of our students. We can do more to support the well-being of our kids beginning at birth and provide that continuum of early childhood education that transitions into high quality education in those early years, that transitions into opportunities to engage and for our learners to shape their middle and high school years, preparing for their future, to do more to help them prepare early for college and for careers, to discover those careers and help them advance, and to do more to support and model the types of transitions that our learners need from high school into college to be able to persist and succeed at earning their college degree. So we want to model that type of coordination. We want to model that type of breaking down of silos at the Department of Education. The Secretary continues to remind us of the importance of being that service agency for and deep partnership with our leaders across the country that are working closely with our educators and with our learners to support their success. So at the department, we are going to continue to uplift these promising practices. We're going to continue to prioritize and support the learning and development and advancement of our multilingual learners. We're going to help support environments where they are able to thrive, support their learning in their native language as an asset to build that learning into English, to support strong dual language learning programs, to support the types of supports that they need to be able to be successful. And together we believe we can get this done, right? We have to elevate the voices of our learners and of their families, to elevate those voices of our educators at every level. We have to value, support, let's celebrate all that our multilingual learners bring to our communities. Let's honor and preserve their language and their culture. Let's lift that up as an asset. And let's all work together and make good on this promise of equity and opportunity so that all of our students across the country in our schools can learn and thrive. Thank you for all you bring to that charge. Thank you for all you do each and every day to contribute to that knowledge base, to build the learning and to help our educators grow and thrive in the work that they do with their students every day. It is critically important. I want to thank you for being here today, for having the chance to connect with one another. And we're so proud of the work at the department. We're in your corner and we're excited to get to work and to do this and to get together and to get it done together on behalf of all of our students. So thank you so much and have a great conference.